Is there a common example of the confusion of the transcendent and the omniscient?
You practice music.
Yes.
So, they say something like, how do you get into Carnegie Hall? Practice, 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 right? And the irony is that out of discipline emerges freedom, right? That in effect, if I want to have the kind of freedom to play, to be able to play anything that I can conceive of, to some extent, I've got to become really good at working with the instrument. And if I want to think about the choice of where I can go with that music, like for instance, that I can play here, or I can play there, or I can play in this style or that style, is yet a different even kind of freedom than that original limitation to choose to practice. So in a sense, for every limitation, there are two kinds of freedom. Not just the freedom to play, but the freedom to shift how I play. And those freedoms are different in kind, right? I can choose what I play, but I can also choose where and when. And these are different kinds of choices. They're choices of a different order. And so in a lot of places, people will confuse those as just being choice. But it's not exactly the same kind of choice. And if I confuse those levels of choice, then effectively I make the same mistake that I mentioned earlier when talking about, this was a number of sessions ago. You walk into the car dealership's going to convince you the choice is the red car or the blue car. But you have to remember that it was your choice to walk into that dealership, and you could choose to walk right out again. It doesn't have to be the choice he suggests. Two different kinds of context, the one he wants you to believe and the one you actually know that you have. And if you confuse those two particular contexts, then in effect you get trapped. So there's a discipline involved. Those are more first person real senses in which for every kind of content, there are two kinds of context. And vice versa. For every kind of context, there are two kinds of content. But now we're starting to move into abstractions again. But I think that this at least gives you a hint as to some of the ways to move farther into embodiment and away from just abstraction.